charges. And Mike's team works without commissions. Merritt will never try to sell you parts you don't need. You can't trust just anyone with a truck. Call Mike Merritt, the company North Florida has trusted for 35 years. Call today. License number CAC 050384.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Firehouse Subs, hook and ladder jingle, take one.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just tastes better. Warm that smoky turkey, that thin sliced honey.
Guys, this is a 30-second ad. You gotta sing faster.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just tastes better. Melty cheese and toast spread, mustard, mayo, perfect spread, lettuce, green, and onion. The sandwich is too big for the song. It's too big.
The Hook and Ladder, available only at participating Firehouse Subs restaurants.
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Mack and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars, to trucks, to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Here's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, sponsored by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. It's been the first training camp Gator freshman quarterback DJ Lagway's experience, and Billy Napier likes the way he's handling it.
Training camp's hard at any position, much less quarterback. All the concepts, offensively, then all his progressions in the throw game.
Despite the team's unique game day location in Dublin, Ireland, Noles head coach Mike Norvell is keeping the team focused on Georgia Tech.
We're all excited about the week ahead. We're still we have a very important week in preparation, playing a very talented and experienced Georgia Tech team.
As the Georgia Bulldogs get ready for the opener against Clemson, head coach Kirby Smart feels the team is deep at a critical position.
We have a group of quarterbacks that have done a great job. I think we've got depth at the quarterback position that we're not used to having.
That's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson.
At 10:57, it's 85 degrees. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Oh No's with Jaguars.com's John Osher. Brought to you by
Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
On 1010XL.
Somebody said that our brief technical difficulty reminded them of The Sopranos, Tony, that we're just going to go out. We're just going to end the show mid-sentence, whatever the case may be. We may do that. They may take us out. The cattle prods will come. You'll hear a little brief electronic buzz, and that'll be the end of it.
Right, no fanfare, just
mid-sentence.
Yeah.
If they had an old vaudeville hook around my neck, they'd pull me off stage right now.
We'll probably be talking about Mac Jones, and they'll zip us out of here.
The next person we try to shut down who suggests that Mac Jones will be overtaking Trevor for the starting job at some point this year.
That's an appropriate end for them.
It'll be for me.
For us. Okay.
For how dare I poo-poo that possibility. I will continue to poo-poo that possibility. I fear not the vaudeville hook.
I have millions of reasons why that won't happen.
Yeah, over 270 of them? Yes.
Many reasons, but those are 270 million of them.
That's a bunch of them right there. Yeah, that's a big part of it. So, John, how much do you think the team is already looking ahead to what they're going to face in week one compared to what they're trying to get accomplished this week versus Atlanta?
Oh, I'm sure quite a bit. I mean, they're not going to make a big deal out of it this week, but of course they are. I mean, it's a little different than it was in years past because you now have that bye next week, so there really is adequate time next week to also do it. But I'm sure most teams around the league are preparing for week one.
I would think so.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't be. So half and half, 75%, I don't know. But, of course, I would be shocked if I walked back through there if there weren't some Tyreek Hill frozen
images. Yes,
images
right. They've been
as they go
running that one back.
But, and that's, I mean, it's in no way a knock on Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't care about that. I'm sure Atlanta's preparing for their week.
Atlanta's not playing their top 2 quarterbacks this week.
Right.
What do they care?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure there are thoughts.
Right. It's not a slight to the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, week 3 of the preseason for so long, when it was a 4-week preseason, was the let's get everybody ready for this is what a game week feels like. This is what prep kind of feels like for a game week. The Jags haven't done that the last 2 weeks, so if they were going to do that in the preseason, it would have to be this week. So how different is whatever they're doing in these next couple of days to get ready for whatever they expect to do against Atlanta, knowing that the real focus is still on Miami?
Well, I think Doug still likes that approach of a dress rehearsal, which is what I've been doing this 30 years. It's what teams I've been around have always done in week 3 or at some point around this time of the calendar. I think because you're not seeing a norm around the league anymore, meaning it always used to be for about 10 years, it felt like nobody played anybody week 4. Yeah, the dress rehearsal week 3. So everybody sort of knew when other team starters were going to play. Now that's a little catch as catch can with who's going to play what. So I think what teams probably do is, okay, we're going to game plan. We're going to get ready. One of these weeks, we're going to do it like a regular season game. Doesn't really matter what the other team does, so to speak. I don't know how much the Jaguars starters will play with Atlanta. The starters not playing very much. But as long as they get that dress rehearsal and that feeling of what it's like to prepare for a game, I think that's what most coaches want out of this. Now, I do think the Jaguars' offensive line, because they haven't had a chance to play together a whole bunch, I think they'll all start. They'll all go a few series. I wonder, and Doug hasn't really addressed this and he won't, if you might see Trevor Lawrence for a series or two and maybe Mac one series just to get him behind that first team line, to get him the reps. That happened a little more in practice this week, mainly just because they're trying to get different looks with different formations and personnel packages.
Oh, and spark the controversy, of course, as well.
I can't speak to anybody who has controversy over this.
I'm just talking about the random one or two out of many.
Yeah,
at least I hope that's the case.
I don't know. Look,
well, Doug has said that the starters might play up to a half. I think it's going to depend on what level of success they have. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence leads 2 3 and outs.
Yeah,
I don't think he's only playing 2 series in this game.
Probably not. I looked back a couple weeks ago. It didn't feel like they played all the way into the second half last year, or even to the first half. I thought they came out early in the second quarter. But yeah, I mean, Doug has said he'll see how it goes. If it goes well, the first couple of series, if they get 7 or 8 plays in on each series, then I think you might see him come out. As you said, if they go 3 and out, if they don't get to everything they want to look at, then I think they'll stay until they will.
It's funny how important they used to pretend that was, right? Like, these guys know how to come out after a halftime for the third quarter, and it's like, what?
I mean, for a long time, it was just standard. In that third game, they were going to play one series into the second
right, because you want to cool down and get ramp back up for the second half.
Yeah, I think some things just sort of fade away in time.
Yeah.
And that feels like one that since COVID and since the new preseason format, more and more coaches aren't doing it. And it's a monkey see, monkey do league. So more and more, okay, they're not doing it. And do we really have to do this? Okay, let's get them out.
Yeah. Get ready, E.J. Perry, because we're going to use you. All right. And they will, I think, in this game. Why risk Mac Jones, behind
you're going to get a full dose of E.J. Perry.
You would think. And, for folks who still think the Jags made a mistake letting Nathan Rourke go, I saw he recently returned to the Canadian Football League with an 8 for 25 outing for about 120 yards and 2 interceptions. And he publicly apologized for how bad he played in the Canadian Football League. But Jags are missing out not having Nathan Rourke on the roster. So some continue to say. So is every other team.
A lot of teams missing out.
Well, a lot of teams are missing out right now. All right, let's go to the phone. 641-1010 on the Garber Auto Mall phone lines. Charles on the west side has patiently been hanging on. Charles, you're on Jaguars Today. Go ahead, please.
My question is, the last few years, we've always been killed by the opposing team's tight end play, and it's not just Kelce, it's everybody. So I'm wondering what you guys' opinion is of how Nielsen is going to and whom he's going to give the responsibility for covering the opposing tight ends.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Charles. Who's going to be primarily responsible for covering tight ends, how that works in Ryan Nielsen's scheme? I mean, usually your linebackers are the guys who get matched up with tight ends. And I do think that Devin Lloyd's had issues in coverage. Mm-hmm. John, in terms of just overall how Ryan Nielsen's defense has handled tight ends, or is there anything specific we can look to in terms of what he wants to do formationally or what kind of players he wants covering those guys?
They certainly play more 4-2-5 in base than anything else. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a good chance you'll see more safeties on, if they're in with the run safety or the nickel safety look, then you should see the safety, Darnell Savage, somebody like that, on a tight end more. But I don't necessarily know that we've seen exactly with the Jaguars how they're going to play that yet, because a lot of these guys haven't been in. Savage hasn't been in. So they're keeping so much under wraps that I don't necessarily want to guess on that.
Was the conversations a few weeks ago about Devin Lloyd, middle linebacker this year, like those kind of things, it hasn't been talked about expressly that way recently, but was that to some degree about Foye is a better coverage linebacker, so we want him in a more advantageous coverage position in more of these formations?
Probably a little bit, but Devin's been okay in coverage. He makes interceptions. Devin's biggest problem, everybody knows, it has been recognition during the play at times. I think the Foye Devin thing is more that they see right now Devin's body type, because he's added pounds in the way he plays, more as a middle run guy. And yeah, if you had to choose between one of them, you'd probably rather have Foye in some coverage on that. Is he the guy who's going to man up against a tight end every series? I don't know that you're necessarily going to see a linebacker whose job it is to take away the other tight end on every play. All they talk about is how hybrid this is and how many different things you're going to do in the back. So I think it's going to be safeties and linebackers trying to deal with the tight end, which at times, as most people listening to this, has been an issue.
Charles, appreciate the call. And if you'd like to join Charles and get your question or comment aired, 641-1010 on the Garber Automotive phone lines or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Today's question of the day is presented by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. All these guys were on the 53-man roster last year. Who's the least likely to make it this season? Yasir Abdullah, Elijah Cooks, Luke Fortner, or Dearness Johnson. Let's talk specifically here about Yasir Abdullah, John. They're making him in kind of like a strong side linebacker. I think he was, a vision that he fit as a 3-4 outside, smaller edge rusher. And obviously you change your base defense, so that's going to make it difficult for some guys to fit in. How do you think he is making the adjustment to a 4-3?
I think he's doing okay, but it feels like you got him at linebacker. To me, it feels like you're keeping 4 at those spots. I think Yasir probably will get a look on the practice squad, would be my guess. He's probably one of those guys near the bottom that could sort of waver between that. But it feels like Ventrell Miller, Muma, Aluakon, and Lloyd are there 4 who are going to matter there quite a bit. I don't know that they keep 5. And he's been sort of okay, but I don't know that he's stood out enough to, be a lock for the roster.
If they had to make a decision at the bottom end of the roster for a 5th linebacker and it was down to Caleb Johnson, Yasir Abdullah, which
Definitely
would likely be. Yeah. But it's special teams thing. So Yasir's just not doing enough in special teams.
Well, I don't know that he's not doing enough, but Caleb Johnson, it is probably their best special teams player. He and Tim Jones are the guys who, Four-Core, Dewey, the same, those guys, they've kept Caleb Johnson on the roster on the 53 for the last 2 years for that, and it hasn't been a big waiver situation. When they're making those decisions, Caleb Johnson, my understanding is, hasn't been a hard decision in the last 2 years. So I'd be stunned if he's not on the team for special teams, just because that's been the way it is for 2 years.
In today's poll so far, Elijah Cooks has pulled away. He's got about 55% of the vote. Again, these are, out of this quartet that we gave you, the least likely to make the 53 this year, in your opinion. Luke Fortner, just under 20%, 15% for Abdullah, and only 10% going with Dearness Johnson among the options we gave you today. So let's do this. We'll take a time out here. When we come back, let's talk about some of the fringes of the roster with John Oehser and the numbers game of how many you think you're going to keep at wide receiver, how many you think you're going to keep on the offensive line, defensive line, and who are the candidates that are being decided between right now, and how important this game Friday is to those folks. 641-1010 if you want to get in on the Garber Auto Mall phone lines. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Jeff Prosser.
This is my best friend in all the world. That's who he is.
But does he have a name?
Oh, yeah.
Dan Hicken.
Is everyone you know so famous?
Famous? Him? What are you talking about?
Mornings on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Well, all the news forecasts say that home prices are expected to decline in 2025. Hey, that's great if you're buying a home. But if you're selling one, you might want to get to it. And when it comes to selling your home, the agents you should trust are Chad and Sandy Newman at chadandsandy.com. Maybe you want maximum equity from your home, but you're not sure how. And you don't want to worry about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. Those things are all out with Chad and Sandy. They're the local real estate experts you can trust, and I recommend for the sale of your home, or for the sale of mine for that matter. Maybe I should look into it. Hey, don't trust me. Trust Jacqueline from Biscayne Estates. My inherited home became a nightmare when it went unsold for 177 days and ended up with a large lien. With expenses mounting for my handicapped daughter and no way to pay, I was desperate. At this point, I turned to Chad and Sandy. The change was amazing. Chad and Sandy sold my home in 3 days at a higher than asking price. Find out for yourself at chadandsandy.com or 904-414-6200.
Lauren here to tell you about Mayport CNC Fisheries preseason football special. $5 off any 100-count bag or 30-pound box of oysters, all preseason long. Bring football season back like a local with Mayport CNC Fisheries in Atlantic Beach.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on 1010XL. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Daytona always brings the drama.
Everything's on the line. The risk will be higher.
3 wide.
Look how insane this is.
Gunning to keep playoff hopes alive. It's now or never.
It's the most stressful night of racing that you'll ever go through.
For an unforgettable weekend of family fun, high wattage star power, and a front row seat full of fireworks. NASCAR weekend at Daytona International Speedway, August 23rd and 24th. Get your tickets now at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
See the world through the eyes of a linebacker.
I tell it like I see it, and I see it like a middle linebacker.
Tom McManus joins Jaguars Today every Friday morning.
Period.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Calling all fans of Duval to downtown Las Vegas during the game against the Silver and Black. This is Lauren Brooks from Helmets and Heels. Join us at Circa Resort and Casino this December for the Jacksonville Game Day Getaway featuring an incredible all-in package. Get a 3-night stay at Circa, $200 food and beverage credit, plus a day bed at Stadium Swim. With 6 temperature-controlled pools and a massive screen, it's the world's largest hot tub party. The all-in package is only available until August 30th, so act now. To book and to join the Heels in Vegas, visit circalasvegas.com today.
Imagine stepping out of your cozy
cozy cabin on a crisp fall morning, coffee in hand, a stunning view from your private porch greets you. You spend the day relaxing at the tiki bar or taking a dip in the year-round pool while catching the big game on TV. Welcome to Island Oaks RV Resort, just past McClenny off exit 333. Book your cabin that sleeps 4 to 6 people. A close, affordable getaway with activities for the whole family. Make memories that last at Island Oaks RV Resort. IslandOaksRVResort.com.
911, what's your emergency?
Help, we don't have air conditioning.
Ma'am, 911 is for emergencies only.
Well, my husband's trying to stuff himself in the refrigerator.
I see. Well, maybe you should call Duck Duck Air Conditioning.
To get him out of the fridge?
To get a new AC system.
Beat the Florida heat with Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Jacksonville area's AC experts. For service, repairs to new installations, trust the Duck. DuckDuckAC.com.
Hacker here with a new opportunity for you. The 20-pound summer slim down with Awaken 180 weight loss. Dropping 20 pounds before summer ends, cruising to your goal of 30, 40, 50-plus pounds down. It's simple. You take the last few weeks of summer, eating, drinking, enjoying the weather, but the difference? You're doing it with the 20-pound summer slim down. But you say, Hack, summer's almost over. Well, that's the point. The pounds melt off fast with Awaken 180. I dropped my first 20 in less time, and that easy 20 propelled me to reach my goal of losing over 85 pounds. Think about it. You're about to slide back into the same old fall routine with the same old mindset. Mix it up. Live up the rest of your summer while dropping the first 20. Then jump into fall with a whole new groove. Yeah, I said it, and you'll be saying it too in just a few weeks. 20-pound summer slim down with the solution for weight loss. Online, awaken180weightloss.com.
There's certain places you know if you go in, they got what you're looking for, like Gate Convenience Stores and Cold Modelo's. That's the ticket. Or get on the craft side of things with something from Bold City or Sweetwater. Hit the cooler at Gate, full of choices and all of them good.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Oh No's.
With Jaguars.com's John Osher.
Brought to you by
Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars on 1010XL.
All right, Jaguars Today rolling along with Johnny O in studio today. D-Rock tomorrow for his first full show of the season, and then Tom McManus on Friday. Of course, Regina just called in offline and asked Dylan a very good question to pass along. John, comes down to the final roster spot. 53-man roster. It's the last guy. Doug Peterson wants one guy. Maybe some of the assistant coaches are pushing for another guy. Trent Baalke believes it should be someone else. Who's got the final say on who?
As we talked about briefly, there's always sort of visions of like these fights where people are banging the table. It generally doesn't happen like that. There's usually these conversations have been taking place for 6 months on these guys. So there's usually sort of a group think that takes over and everybody sort of gets what's going to happen. If it absolutely came down to a Caleb Johnson or Elijah Cooks, as you say, it would be Trent in the end, is my understanding. But I think on certain players, a quarterback, et cetera, the head coach with quarterback experience in this case would probably take over. I don't know that that's ever really been revealed exactly how that hardcore would take out if there was a Texas death match.
Right.
But
Baalke would win if it
really
if
doesn't
it came down
get
to that.
to that point. But it's a legitimate question.
Right. Well, it is because it could be that, for that last spot, and you have different visions and different investments and all the different things that go into it. But like you said, you're going along for months.
Right.
We're talking like,
You've
hey,
had meetings.
I really think, here's the numbers game. Well, if we do this, we don't do this. And in the end, it's kind of like almost like a group decision that gets made.
And they also generally know now there's a feel for how the practice squad will work. So they sort of know, okay, if we cut, they will make decisions on, we know X is the better player here for us, but we also know he's probably going to get through waivers, and this other guy won't.
Right.
Like Elijah Cooks last year was not really kept for what he could do right then, but they knew that with his skill set, his size, he was probably going to get claimed. They didn't want to lose him. So you sort of have an idea who will get through waivers, and you manage the roster like that. So it's more that spirit than it is fighting over certain players, but Trent ultimately would guide that.
How long does the I was drafted scholarship last, right? Like this year, you look at Javon Foster, and you're like, all right, he doesn't look like he's ready to come in and play right now, but he's a fourth-round pick.
Right.
He was first-team All-SEC. We think we can develop this guy. We're not going to let him go, right? He's a draft pick. And, like Luke Fortner, how much draft pick armor is he still wearing? He was a third-round selection. That's, he's only been here for 2 years. He has a lot of starting experience.
Yeah, I don't think after the second year, once they're in their third year, it's not so much draft pick armor, but it's do people believe that there's still something there? And do people believe that if he's released, he would go elsewhere? Because that's so much of it. They really do consider the practice squad part of the team now, but they have to determine what guys would be of big interest if left out off that 53 at first to get him back on the practice squad. So
I don't think Fortner would make it to the practice squad. Tony and I were talking about this earlier.
I don't think he would either.
I mean, you got 2 years of starting experience. Right. You're young. At the very least, somebody picks him up as a guy that could be in their top 8 offensive linemen, top 9 offensive linemen.
I don't believe he would either. So that's probably the armor once you get past your second year, more than draft pick armor. Javon Foster, I don't know. Again, I get the draft pick armor angle. I think with him, you drafted him in the 4th round. You didn't really believe when you drafted him that he would be ready this year. Mm-hmm. You drafted him as a player who could develop into a swing tackle, maybe a starter on down the line. I think Javon Foster, the most likely scenario for him is to be on the 53, probably not active on game day very often, and be that developmental guy that you have to – they know they have to designate a roster spot or two for guys like that, because if he gets released, he's claimed the next day.
Of course, right. I mean, you at some point you do have to draft and develop, but it's very
can't do it with everybody,
right? It's interesting how you juggle the roster with those kind of spots.
No doubt. And look, I agree. We talked about it. Luke Fortner, I think he would likely be picked up if they exposed him to waivers. I think Cole Van Lanen, with the kind of preseason he's had, will likely get picked up if they expose him to waivers. And it does feel like when you just look at the group and you're grading who are their 8 or 9 best linemen, I think Van Lanen is among that group.
Seems like it.
But it's hard to put him on the roster officially right now because there are guys they're going to have to hold on to, because Walker Little, Javon Foster, they're not going to let go. And if they hold on to Fortner, now you're trying to figure out, do we need to carry 9, right? And
I think they'll carry 9.
Right. And if they're carrying 9, is Van Lanen the 9th guy, which would mean Hance and Hodges wouldn't be.
Yeah, they sometimes will carry 10 for offensive linemen because they designate that one of them is going to be that developmental guy, and you're just sort of burning that spot for right now. I've been around franchises that carry 10. I'd be really surprised if Hodges is not one of those guys that they keep.
I would be too. But if you got Hodges, if you think Fortner is one of them, right? Little is going to be on the team, and Foster, there's 9.
Right.
I mean, you got your 9 right there.
Yeah.
And you hate to see, like,
Van Lanen's been practice squad for the last year.
Right, but
so I don't know.
Like this week, PFF named him the offensive player of the week for the entire league.
Right.
And so that puts him on the radar at least,
sure.
I think, of other teams out there. Tom McManus has been pushing for he'd like to see Van Lanen get some reps at guard because he is playing so well and so physically. Logman thinks, no, strictly a tackle. Do you think that they would try to get to say, hey, this guy could be valuable. He doesn't fit numbers-wise right now, but maybe we could see if he could help us out on the interior.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he has the skill set to do both will help him. I'd be a little surprised if they move him off of the position that he's already been playing to move him to another spot right now, but I could see him I could see them having that be a reason why you prioritize keeping him, the fact that he can do both.
How many wide receiver spots? 6 or 7, including Duvernay as a receiver.
Yeah, the fact that they've got the returner mixed in there, I'm going to say 6 with the idea that they probably feel like they could get Cooks to the practice squad this year.
Okay. And Tim Jones still number 6?
I think so, yeah. Just because, again, like Caleb Johnson, they have a belief that special teams are important, and those are important 4 core guys for their special teams.
How much impact do you think Parker Washington can make on game day this year?
Well, I would have said 2 weeks ago it would depend on Christian Kirk's health. But
does he look like a game day active to you now, even if Kirk is healthy?
It's a great question. I would have said no 2 weeks ago. Now I think he's playing well enough that it's hard not to give him a jersey because of what you think he can do. So I'm going to say that they figure out a way to make him a game day active.
But at the same time, how often do you get to your 5th receiver? You know what I mean?
Coming out of the gate with Keelan Robinson hurt, you could have Christian and Duvernay back on kicks.
You mean Parker and Duvernay back on kicks?
I'm sorry, I said Christian.
Yeah, no, I
meant Parker, Washington, and Duvernay.
Well, you could, but you could also do Tank back there.
Could, yeah.
Right, and he's going to be active on game day, so he could have that role as well.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't shock me either way. I want to have a good answer, so I'm going to say Parker Washington's active, but what a nice problem for him to have.
Look, and I would say when I call him the 5th, he may be the 4th. Like, you know, in terms of being ahead of Duvernay, in terms of just being in the offense.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Right. So, like, in the past, that wasn't necessarily the case last year because they liked coming up with those plays for Agnew, and maybe they just didn't have as much faith in Parker Washington at that point in time.
Right. So you could see a Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., Christian with Parker as the 4th.
Parker's 4th.
Yeah.
And Duvernay's active because, you know, so then are all 6 active? Because if you're having Tim Jones for special teams, he's got to be active or else what's the point?
Yeah. I would say that might be week to week.
Right, depending on the matchup.
Depending on the matchups. Depending on what else is healthy around the roster. But it's a difficult decision at a spot that hasn't had that many difficult decisions lately.
All right, Tony, why don't you take us around the rest of the NFL?
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Indianapolis tight end Jelani Woods will miss a considerable time, according to head coach Shane Steichen, for a toe injury. No timetable beyond that was offered. The Colts also placed guard Josh Sills on their injured reserve. Tennessee has placed linebacker Garrett Wallow on injured reserve. Miami wide receiver Tyreek Hill is dealing with an injury to his right hand that required him to wear a removable brace on it during practice on Tuesday. It doesn't appear to be anything serious.
That's not a 3-week injury, you're telling me?
I'm not thinking it is, although, you know, Jalen Waddle still hadn't practiced the last couple weeks.
Right.
Yep. Chicago head coach Matt Eberflus said on Tuesday that most of the team's starters, including quarterback Caleb Williams, will not play in their preseason game tomorrow night. Dallas wide receiver Brandon Cooks will not be participating in the final couple practices this week in Oxnard, California for the Cowboys because he has left camp due to a personal matter. Detroit running back Jahmyr Gibbs will not practice the rest of this week as he continues to work through a hamstring injury, but he is expected to be able to practice next week, according to head coach Dan Campbell. And Las Vegas Raiders offensive tackle Colton Miller has been activated off the team's PUP list.
I think as well for Miami, River Craycraft is, I think I read, was really...
He's hurt.
Right, he's hurt, but he was operating as their number 3 receiver through most of the offseason and really having a nice training camp, according to the Miami beat writers. And so he's not going to be available.
They haven't had Odell practice yet.
And take your time, right?
Brandon Cooks come into the league in the 90s?
Brandon Cooks?
Yeah.
He's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those guys every year when he's mentioned, I'm always like, oh, yeah, he's still and really good.
He's had 1,000-yard seasons with 4 different teams.
Yeah.
So
remarkable.
You know, and I wouldn't doubt he has another one with Dallas this year, particularly if CeeDee Lamb's not around for the first, who knows, whatever portion.
He's one of those guys who just produces, and he's been around forever.
Getting down to that stretch where you got to figure out when you're drafting people, are they going to be available for me? Week 1, Tony, I'm looking at you, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk at this point in time. Aren't we all? All right, we'll come back, and we'll take a look at the Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day on which of the returning players we listed from last year's 53-man roster you think is least likely to make it, and we'll kind of go through with our predictions on all four of those players. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, John Ogier, and Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Start your day off right with Dandy. Your day may start off when it's still dark outside, right? Middle of the night. I don't know your schedule. Maybe you're working that swing shift. Anytime you're hungry for some delicious breakfast items from Dandy, they've got your back. Swing into a gate station, enjoy a little AC, and then fill up your belly with something delicious from the Dandy and Anytime Deli line of sandwiches, subs, protein packs, fruit cups, veggie trays, you name it. They got all that stuff. And it's available all day long, but breakfast is available 24 hours a day as well. Think buttermilk biscuits and soft flaky croissants, French toast, light tasty maple waffles, sizzling country sausage, Black Forest ham, thick sliced bacon, all the peppered fried eggs and creamy Wisconsin cheddar cheese and all the different combos you can imagine. And that's just scratching the surface. Dandy's got your back for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or anything in between. So as you're driving around Duval and you're getting hungry, look for that Dandy and Anytime Deli label and do what I do when you are hungry. Go out and make yours a Dandy. Do it today.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Are the company's Zoom calls getting boring? Might be a good time to order some new logo caps or temporary tattoos. Check them out online at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Who has the best lineup this season? Honda. Cars, trucks, SUVs, vans, hybrids, and electric. This is one of the greatest lineups Honda has ever had. And now is the best time to purchase or lease one. Visit your local Honda dealer now. Remember, only a Honda is a Honda.
It's Awaken 180 Weight Loss Wednesday
on Jaguars Today.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet. It's Florida's only legal sportsbook. Hard Rock Bet is the way to go. Easy sign up, fast deposits and withdrawals, PayPal, Venmo, cards, and more. They take them all. And we're talking hundreds of props, parlays, live play-by-play betting across every sport. And you can bet from anywhere in the state of Florida. If your first bet doesn't win, you get up to $100 back for another shot. Download Hard Rock Bet now or go online at hardrock.bet.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that's been chosen as the exclusive pest control provider for the brand new state-of-the-art Miller Electric Performance Center. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their effectiveness in keeping spiders, roaches, bugs, and termites out. When I trust them for my family and the Jags trust them for their business, then you can too. For the best service in town, call my friends at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein & Robbins DUI defense firm.
Atlantic Self-Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self-Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving, they can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
Welcome to ABS, Advanced Business Solutions, your local print management partner and home to Xerox copiers. From IT management to VoIP phone systems, Advanced Business Solutions is the right name to know.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyoublow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's challenger, an asphalt marketer from Jacksonville, Florida. Meet Sheldon Fish. Today's category, air conditioner repair experts in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, I bet it's going to be Bueller.
Your question. Unlike Jacksonville, the Sahara Desert has a complete lack of air conditioner repair experts. What kind of camels do they ride?
That's not really a question about air conditioner repair.
5 seconds.
But that's a camel question.
Pick a camel, Sheldon.
Arabian dromedary. That's right, Sheldon. Like the majestic Arabian dromedary, the skilled technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing can repair any make and model of air conditioner the same day you call, making sure you are cool. They don't spit, do they?
No, but Steve, the new guy, has a bit of a hump.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
For birthdays, anniversaries, or any situation that requires something really special, visit the Kuhn Flowers showroom on Beach Boulevard and select something that you can't find anywhere else. 1010XL's Andrew Gibson here, and that's the direction I head, Kuhn Flowers.
Family owned and managed for 20 years, Hidden Hills Golf Club boasts a unique and welcoming golfing atmosphere. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to book your next round on our Arnold Palmer signature course. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality product. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJacks.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
This is Dr. James Perry, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars safety Darnell Savage, who is known for his versatility on the field, met with the media yesterday at training camp and commented on rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.'s height and speed.
He's an easy runner. I mean, he's so tall. You know what I'm saying? You don't really, realize how tall he is. I think BT's probably, 6'3", somewhere around there. So he just kind of glides when he runs. He's got them long strides, so it doesn't really look like he's digging, but he's covering ground. I mean, this league is full of great athletes, tall runners, short runners, so he's definitely got a unique skill set as far as being that tall and being able to cover that much ground and kind of, just get on top of the defense. It's good. It's good for him to see us, and it's good for us to see him, too.
Found courtesy of Jaguars.com. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars Update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Stop it, Doom. I see your tweets. Just stop it. All right, you can see his if you follow him, too. Hey. Not going to go down that road. Not not going to go down that road right now. Dylan just asked, do I have preseason fatigue? Only when people call about Mac Jones.
Only since July 23rd.
Pretty much, right? Only since the training camp started. Right. No, I actually don't, because I like the way they did it this week. We had something to look forward to because we did have the Mac Jones game, let's see him look like a better option at backup quarterback than we've had in recent seasons, and I think he did. And now we've got the starters to look forward to on Friday night, and then got a couple weekends to steel yourself for the marathon run down the stretch.
I kind of thought when it first started that I wouldn't love the last week bye in preseason, just because I figured, let's just get going, let's go. But it's nice. It's like a mini vacation.
Kind of gather yourself, and here we go. And then sprint, because the Jags don't have a bye for a long, long time.
Like late November, right?
Yeah. So wait a second. What is it? Week 12 of the season, I think, is the official, which I believe is the latest one that they've ever had.
It feels right. There was one year that they went to London where they had a bye after a November London game. real early in the London stuff, but it's late. I like that because then it means you can sort of see the finish line, but who cares what I like?
Right. I hear what you're saying, though. We all think in terms of, like, fans are like, hey, what games can I get to? Is it going to conflict? Can I watch these games? When are the kickoff times? Are we getting any prime time? Everybody looks at it through their own lens,
Sure.
and that's fine. Look, I'm going to show up regardless, Tony. Whether they play them on Monday night, Thursday night.
We'll be there.
Friday morning, whatever you want to do. We'll be there. All right, let's take a look at today's Chat and Sandy real estate question of the day. Okay, who would you vote for? But also, let's go through and kind of rate the likelihood that these players are going to be part of the 53. Which of these 4 players who were all on the 53-man roster last year is the least likely to make the Jags 53-man roster this season? We had Abdullah, Cooks, Fortner, and Dearness Johnson on here. Cooks getting 55% of the vote. Do you think that's the most logical answer of who is least likely to make the 53?
It's a good one. I mean, I'm not quite sure yet. Dearness and Jalen Jackson.
I'm not either.
I don't have a great feel for that, and I guess it wouldn't surprise me either way. Again, my focus on some of these is not what it was 5 years ago because I know so many of them are going to be practice squad, move up and down guy that I don't think it's as, permanent when they get cut as it once was. But I do wonder about that.
But you do still have the specter. If you let him go, somebody else can just grab him.
Yeah.
Hell, think the Dallas Cowboys might be able to use Dearness Johnson right now? They might.
Look, and I think if you have another running back on your roster that you feel good about, that's fine. And that's basically what we're discussing here with Dearness specifically. The other 2 guys that I would consider maybe on the kind of border would be Elijah and Yasir. As we discussed with Luke Fortner, I don't think they can get him to the practice squad. So I doubt that they're going to be willing to cut him, from the 53. Yeah. It's a bit odd. I wish he had some kind of positional flexibility, because it isolates him.
Yeah.
And he's got no chance to be active on game day unless Morse gets hurt. He'll be inactive all year. But I think it's a bit difficult to imagine they're able to get him to the practice squad. So I think it's likely that he winds up on the 53.
Because there's such a high value placed in the league on guys who can snap.
No doubt.
I know people say, well, if you can snap, but you can't play. But that trumps a lot of things when making roster decisions, Tony. Go ahead.
No doubt, which leaves the other 2. And we've talked a little bit about Cooks and how many receivers you think they're going to wind up keeping at the end of the day. Yasir Abdullah, I think if he's going to make the roster, he's got to be able to add something on special teams to have any kind of chance to be active on game day. I'm not sure if he's even at that point. It does feel like you mentioned Cooks that you thought they could get him to the practice squad. I assume you feel the same way about Abdullah at this point too.
I think so because you have to remember teams that are looking to pick up guys, they've spent their off season as well developing their guys that they sort of see for the practice squad. So we sort of see these guys on the team we cover as, they could play for a lot of teams. Well, every team's got their guys who they believe they're in our system, they've developed. You've got to be a lot better than the guy the Rams have been developing at their spot.
Sure.
To say, okay, we're going to knock this guy that knows our system out to go bring in Elijah Cooks. And that's not to say that Elijah Cooks can't go play in the NFL. I think he's an NFL receiver and could play for a few years. But is the risk that high for losing these guys and not being able to get on the practice squad? More and more, I think you're seeing teams stick with their own. So I think they can get these guys through.
Just looking at, by the way, at Dearness Johnson, you think, he's a vet. You'd save a little bit of money. It's not that much money. Looking if I can see what the cap hit is. His base salary this year is $1.125 million, which, tons of money to me, right? But you look at Jalen Jackson, his base salary is $795,000. Right. So call it $800,000. It's $350,000. Let's call it.
No, right? I think the thing you like about Jalen Jackson is every time he touches the ball, there's some running backs. Every time they touch the ball, you feel like something dynamic's happening. He's exciting a lot when he touches the ball, and sometimes at that position that trumps a lot of things. Of hey, he might be a guy that a team looks at and says, I think there might be something there. So.
It's tough that, like, what is this team going to be looking for? Do we need the third back to be an exciting developmental guy when you've got, a first-round pick invested in Bigsby, who's back next year, a third-round pick invested in Tank? Or do you want a guy that, okay, you know what, if worst-case scenario happens, he's a trusted vet, he's going to hang on to the ball, we know he can catch it out of the backfield, do some of these things.
And I think the thing that you said is what will eventually give D'Ernest the edge. Also, the thing I just said about most teams in training camp have a fourth running back who's looked good enough that they like.
Mm-hmm.
Has Jalen Jackson, while he's flashed here, has he flashed enough on film for people? He didn't get drafted. So has he flashed enough in these 3 weeks for somebody to say, oh, we really missed on that. He's better than the guy that knows our system. I would say the likelihood of that is fairly slim.
So do we agree here collectively, the three of us, that out of this quartet, Luke Fortner is the most likely to be on the 53-man roster?
Yes.
I'd go with that.
Yeah. Out of those four, I would, even ahead of D'Ernest. And a lot of people don't think D'Ernest is any trouble at all. And maybe he won't be, right? I look at these guys, and running back is such a replaceable position, and you got a chance to get younger there. It's not
the thing you
the
said
big
about
cap
reliability.
savings.
D'Ernest showed last year, given a few opportunities, he performed and made some plays when he did, and the trust at that position. The other thing, D'Ernest being a veteran, veterans typically are much better coming in and pass blocking than a rookie free agent running back.
Right.
I haven't delved into how good Jalen Jackson is at that. It's not a question I've asked. But usually a veteran will be more trusted in that role, and that's huge for backup running back.
Well, let me ask you, how big a role do you think Tank Bigsby will have this year? I was thinking about him just as we were talking about the running backs. He did miss one blitz pickup, but, not necessarily the end of the world. Not saying that makes him a bad pass blocker.
I think he'll get the role that they wanted him to have last year, and that they kept not being able to get to because I think they lost trust a little bit. I think he lost a little confidence. Big role, 7 or 8 carries a game-ish. Hard.
Like maybe a series a half, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to predict carries because game situation and all that. And in this offense, the backs probably aren't going to combine for huge carry numbers, but I think they wanted to be a part of it, and I think he's earned it. I mean, so let's say 7 or 8 carries, 10 touches on good weeks.
Yeah, I think the question comes down to who is, it's 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
You just leave an ETN in there? Or, if you're really going to pound it up between the tackles, it seems like Tank is more of that guy who is going to break that initial tackle and lean it forward for an extra yard.
But in this offense, sometimes they want the guy, they like the make the miss guy even in short yardage situations in this offense, as opposed to thinking Tank can run over an unblocked nose tackle. So my guess is what we're asking will probably depend on the first couple of times they try it, how well it goes, and how much they trust it.
Bro, if we got any unblocked nose tackles running around out there, we're in big trouble. All right.
A couple times last year.
Regardless. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying if it does, it would be an issue. No, I know where you're coming from. All right, the poll right now, over 300 votes. Elijah Cook's getting 55% of that vote. Luke Fortner up to 20.5%. We disagree with that. In terms of what's likely, what's not likely. Again, who is the backup center if Luke Fortner's not on his roster?
This poll thinks that he's the second most likely
the second most likely to be cut. Yes, to not make the 53.
I think some of that's perception. I'm not sure that perception's real.
And as some have, replied, that's their desire, not that they necessarily think it's going to go that way. Yasir getting 14%, 10% on D'Ernest Johnson right now. All right, let's wrap things up here, Dylan.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers. Discover BioTarget Regenerative Therapy, a safer drug-free solution for lasting pain relief. Visit GoBioTarget.com.
All right, Mia O'Brien's here from Helmets and Heels. Hello, Mia.
Hello. How are we doing?
We're fine. We're good. How are you?
Everything hanging in there. Yeah.
Who are? Give me a vet or two that you think is playing for their roster life. And certainly there are a lot of them that are. But give me maybe not an obvious name, a guy that many people would have on their 53.
That many people would have on their 53. I mean, so we're not including Tyler Shatley?
It's up to you. I mean,
okay.
if you think that...
I mean, that's the obvious one for me, just by virtue of how much depth they've been able to build along the offensive line, whether you like that depth or not. The reality is if you're younger and can do things that, unfortunately, someone entering their 11th year in the league can't, that's going to be of a higher priority, I would think, to a staff that's looking towards the future as well as the present. So I would put him in that category. And... it's tough. I mean, I know there's those of you out there that want us to come up with some spicy name. You want us to say Roy. You want us to say, I don't know, any litany of guys.
If we told them, it wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, for me, it's really, I feel like the 53-man roster, well, certainly there will be some fluctuation. I'll give you C.J. Beathard, I guess, just because I think that between the injury now and the... funny to say, emergence of Mac Jones, the reality of his ceiling over the next 3 to 4 years is higher than CJ's. I think they try to find a way to keep CJ here in Duval County because I know that this team recognizes what he means to Trevor personally and what he means to the organization as a steady voice in that quarterback room. And so I think he'll find a way, whether that's through practice squad or if they do keep 3 quarterbacks. But I would say those 2 right now. I really don't think there's any other major names unless somebody is slipping my mind right now who pop off the top of the dome.
All right, what do you have coming up today on Helmets and Heels?
Ooh, a whole lot of fun stuff. We've had a lot of guests this week, and so very exciting to kind of get more into some of the weeds of some of the topics that we've been having on the back burner. And so a couple of those will, of course, include taking a look at Brett McMurphy's college football playoff prediction, the first ever 12-team playoff. Do we agree? Do we disagree? I know it's Brett, and he does this week in, week out. He does his bowl game predictions. But we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We're also going to look at Tom Brady's top 5 quarterback ranking and what Trevor Lawrence has to do to get onto this list.
All right, there you go. Mia, have a great show.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Coming up, we'll be listening for that. John, what are we listening for and watching for from you for the next few days?
We'll have the Huddle Up podcast at 4 o'clock today. And then I'll be on Jaguars AM 10 o'clock tomorrow morning before getting on the flight to Atlanta.
All right, there you go. Safe travels. Bring home a healthy W and a good performance by the first team. We appreciate Bold City Cap, John Caputo, joining us. Go check out boldcitybrigade.org. If you listen to the show, you wouldn't have missed it.
Well, I was.
And there's always that.
Otherwise disposed.
You know, we put it out on the airwaves for the public to enjoy. So, you know, that'd be your choice on that one.
Call Cap and ask him what he
Thanks to Cap for enlightening us on the Miami and Vegas trips that the Bold City Brigade has coming up. Again, boldcitybrigade.org is where you'll find more information there. For Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark and John Ogier, I'm Mike Dempsey. We'll be back tomorrow with D-Rock in tow with more Jaguars Today here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars.